going to kind of briefly run through applying magnetic content and performance measurement to 6 digital channels. Actually, I lied. We don't have time to go through all 6, but I'm going to touch on video and mobile, and we're going to get heavy into social because that's a really cool one, and it's lots of fun. So digital channel number 1 is about social media. Let's kind of get a quick lay of the land. How big is social networking today? There's 232 million Americans, of which 74% are online today. 89% are on email. Who are the 11% who don't go on email? Somebody please do some research on that. I'd love to find out. 83% are using search engines. 76% are buying online. 2/3 are watching online video. 64% of all internet users in the United States are on social media. And by the way, is anybody Twittering? Anybody Twitter? Are you Twittering right now? That's okay, because your retention of this presentation will be only 78.67% of everybody else in the room. But that's fine with me. Do whatever you want. Tweet away. So, Twitter users, oh, you're gonna love me later, don't worry. Twitter users account for about 11% of total internet users in the United States. So it's actually a pretty small percent. That's striking to a lot of people who think that everybody's doing Twitter. We're a rarefied group here, folks, all right? And by the way, in terms of dollars, we've calculated at eMarketer, it's about 0.4% of total US online ad dollars. 0.4% of the 31 billion we talked about earlier. Social media ad spending is indeed growing, 37% this year, $2.74 billion. That's in the US alone, which is about 2/3 of social media ad spend. In the United States, it's about 9% of online ad spend. That has grown pretty rapidly over the last few years. And oh, by the way, in terms of display ad spending this year, maybe this isn't a big surprise, Facebook will eclipse Yahoo in terms of ad dollars spent on display advertising. That's how fast this machine is working. And by the way, for you B2B folks in the room, it works out to be about the same for B2B, because this is among total marketing budgets. It may actually be a little higher percentage-wise, because this 9% figure is among digital dollars. So yes, B2B is on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff too. But you know, it's really not about the dollars and cents so much. It's not about the buying of ad space, the paid media model so much. It's more and more, of course, about how you earn and own it. And really it comes down to this simple concept of trust. This is why marketers are so giddy with the idea of social media. How can I get into this trust equation, right? Because all of the data, and newsflash, consumers actually trust each other more than they do you, the marketer. Some people are shocked. Oh my gosh, is that really true? I thought they believed me more than their grandmother. Well, it's not the case. And here's some data to support it. This comes from our friends at Nielsen. Looking at US consumers' trust in advertising, way at the bottom of the list is mobile devices. We'll talk about that later. Then is ads on social networks. Very specific language. Ads on social networks, not what people are saying maybe, or my best friends on social networks. All right, moving up the line, online banner ads at 16%, ads on TV and magazines somewhere in the middle, brand websites shockingly high at 35%, and that's corroborated by a number of other sources. Actually, what you say on your website, people believe largely to be relatively true, but way up top, 76%, astronomical numbers, recommendations from people I know, and followed by consumer opinions posted online. Consumers trust each other more than they do you, the marketers. So how do we get a little leverage from that? How do we really spin that to our favor? We have 4 solutions, or 4 out of 7 that I have time to go, that I cover in the book. Leverage the secret ingredient, trust. And there's a bunch of ways to do that. One of the ways is to let fans come to your rescue. You might have heard about this story with 1-800-Flowers that had for whatever reason, a disgruntled customer who was saying all kinds of nasty things. 1-800-Flower tried to do everything for them. They sent them free flowers. They sent them a discount. They sent them a personal apology by email. They even did a public apology. And the guy just kept going on and on about how terrible, and starting to use expletive deletives about 1-800-Flowers. And finally, another consumer who was a purchaser of 1-800-Flowers came in and says, would you just accept the apology like an adult? Grow up. What happened? That guy went away. That's the power of consumers, you know, standing up for you on your behalf. Another example is TurboTax. Anybody doing their taxes this year? Nobody? Oops. So they decided to leverage social media with customer ratings and reviews. When customers were finishing their taxes with a product, right, they were prompted to share the reviews on Facebook and Twitter. It was real easy. They could just take 2 seconds and write a quick review. And by the way, most reviews are positive. Assuming you don't have a sucky product or really bad service, most reviews are going to be positive. And they found that these social updates generate 4 times the click-through rate of a typical banner ad, and the conversion rate was over 30% more. No big surprise. It's consumers talking to consumers. And the key here for customer ratings and reviews, everybody should do them and have them on their own site. Oh my gosh, Geoff, somebody might say something negative. Well, the research shows that transparency equals trust. If you allow some negativity to bubble up, most people understand everybody has a bad day, or this is just a grumpy curmudgeon, right? But allowing some negativity comes up makes you believe all of the positive ratings and reviews all the more. It doesn't come across as a whitewashed PR slick, job. It comes across as real. So we want reality. So moving on. I love the comment from Intuit of TurboTax, our customers are our best salespeople, and I think that probably applies to you as well. Listening leads to learning. We all know that social media is so much about listening, how consumers talk about your product or service versus the competitors, what are their pain points. They might use language or scenarios of their pain points that you wouldn't have envisioned. Can you use these concepts and this language in your television campaigns or your radio campaigns or maybe even your keyword search buys, right? So that you can be more resonant with the consumer, because they're basically, it's like, focus groups on steroids with social media. You have so much quantitative data to look at. You can learn their interests and intentions, and of course you can discover real and perceived problems with your product or customer service. We all know lots of people or companies are doing Twitter. The numbers are kind of wacky in terms of what that percentage really is, but one of the best reasons is that they understand real time what the consumer's thinking about their product right at that moment. Lots of big companies are doing it, consumer and business to business. We've all heard of Dell Hell. This was even mentioned at the conference yesterday. Dell learned from its lesson when they got slammed by Geoff Jarvis, the blogger, and so they created the first social media listening command center. They then created a Dell Social Media University where 10,000 people are accredited at Dell to essentially be direct consumer advocates representing their division. So they can personally take care of a customer directly and solve that customer's needs. They also were one of the first to come up with the CLO, the Chief Listening Officer. You'll see a lot more of that. Hey, I don't make this stuff up. Aren't we all supposed to be listening in marketing? Just a thought. I'm going to share a little personal story to drive this home. The power, because I've just already dissed Twitter and I have to redeem myself. But I'm going to just tell you a little story. This is a true story. Last Christmas, my 16-year-old son, who is a professed geek, I've never seen him cry before until Steve Jobs died. I mean, this guy really is a tech fanatic. He loves tech everything. And so last Christmas, we decided to pony up and get him an Adobe Create Suite of 4 so he could go wild creating his own websites. Does anybody have this product? Okay, I don't begin to understand, but he loves it. He was having a great time with it for about 7 months, and he had noticed that when he had gotten the package, the original package pulled out the disc, one of them was a duplicate, so he was missing a disc. He, being the smart tech guy that he was, he just went online and downloaded the software using the serial number, and he was good to go. But 7 to 8 months into his ownership, before the year's warranty was out, or whatever the warranty was, he had to update his operating system, and he lost the software. So he went back online to find the download. Did not exist. If anybody can find something online, this guy can, and he could not find it. I said, so call the 800 number. So he calls the 800 number, and I said, so, son, how'd that work for you? Son, are you okay? He was really upset. They blew me off. They wouldn't take care of me. Is there a moment that you've ever had with kids where you decide, I have to step in? I thought so. And I decided to not only step in, I was going to do this at work. Because I just had this little feeling. I don't know. It was just a little feeling that maybe, perhaps maybe, a good little story might come out of this. And I might share that story with, a few hundred people at, say, an eMetrics conference, as was the case. So I got on the phone just before lunch, and I was on the phone with this particular guy about 2 continents away. He spoke very good English. And I said, hey, can you help me out? I think there's some little confusion here because, I explained the problem. He says, no problem, sir. Let me just connect you to our sales rep. No, maybe you didn't hear me. I said that there was a defect. We had a duplicate disk, and so we didn't have the other disk we needed. And no, we don't have that download anymore. We don't have that link. I said, wait, you don't service the product anymore? It's only 7, 8 months old. We still have a warranty. So, don't worry, I'll connect you to our sales rep. What are they going to do? Oh, they're going to sell me Creative Suite 5. I said, oh, so you're going to give me Creative Suite 5? No. You're going to pay for it. How much is that? $500. At this point, you ever get to the point of being apoplectic? I had to take a break. I went for lunch. I worked out. I came back, and I said, I'd like to speak to the manager. I spoke to the manager, and he put me in touch with the sales rep who was trying to sell me Creative Suite 5. It was at this point that I decided I needed a new strategy. Yes, folks, it's time to escalate. I went to Facebook and I typed in, hey, I got this problem. I can't even reveal some of the stuff that was going on there. People had lots of things to say. My favorite one was from my co-author. It says, I can send you the email of the CEO of Adobe. And I'm thinking, whoa, I'm not sure I want to pull out the big guns, and they are a client of ours. I'm not sure I want to piss them off. So then I went to Twitter, and I just typed a very simple message. I said, look, hey, Adobe, I hope you're listening because I got a little problem here. And I wasn't nasty, I wasn't mean, no expletive deleters, I just expressed myself. Do you know, within about 4 minutes to the second, we received an email from no less than Larry Hawkins III. You can't make this stuff up. What, do you have to have a PhD in Twitter to work at Adobe? I don't know. This guy was super healthy, and magically, I don't know how we did it, we had a link to Creative Suite 4, the product we bought in the first place. Somehow it magically appeared. So what did I do? I gave them a nice shout out. I said, hey, Adobe, you came through. Your call center sucks, but hey, Twitter, that's working for me. And by the way, it's working for my son, too. True story. That's the power of the Twitter sphere. So I hope I've redeemed myself. The third point with magnetic content with social media is to be aware of the audience in which you're in. Marketing speak and kind of slick PR pitches just ain't going to cut. It's kind of like being at a swanky place, where they're serving wine and you say, hey, where's the Schlitz? Nothing against Schlitz, but it just doesn't quite fit in with the wine tasting here, right? So words like authentic, open, trustworthy, responsive, down to earth, and essentially you're not talking as a corporation. Put a real person in front of it with a real name and a real personality. That's what people increasingly respond to. A great example of that is Humphrey Slocum. You probably never heard of it. It's an ice cream shop, about 12 chains in San Francisco. So you've ever had it? It's good, right? Well, they have this whole thing. They come up with these Twitters, which are, just this side of irreverent. You can't believe some of the things they say that you can do with ice cream. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But this is brilliant copy, and it serves 2 purposes. One, it gets people's attention, and they have 300,000 followers. This from a 12-chain operation in San Francisco. 300,000 followers. They also, in addition to being amusing and entertaining and fun, there's that word again, let you know what the next ice cream flavors are coming out tomorrow. And a lot of people show up, hey, I'll take that. So it drives business. It met all 5 of our criteria. It was certainly unique. Nobody writes copy like that. It was useful because they tell you what the next flavor is. It's well executed. The copy again, fun, certainly, and a great use of the channel Twitter for virtually no bucks. Yes, there is the money that is the time spent to create those tweets, but there it is. Sometimes the best magnetic content, though, comes from your best customers, which is why you should focus on your fans. And I'm going to put it to you very plainly. With social media, there's a whole world out there. And you've got prospects, people you're not selling to now. You've got customers who you are selling to, but maybe not that much. And then you hopefully have your core brand enthusiasts. These are people who so love your brand, they're passionate about it, they maybe like you, they Facebook you, they want to tell others about it, not just digitally, but they'll tell people about it at Tupperware parties or wherever they get together. They really love your brand and they want to share it with others. If you're lucky enough to have that little core, this is a great area to focus in with social media. And why? There's a bunch of reasons. One is that you can find them by social media. These people are out there, and if you're monitoring blogs and Facebook pages and so on, you will discover them. Vaseline did an entire television campaign with testimonials that came right out of finding mommy blogs who were using the product and loved the skincare regimen. All right? You want to nurture them carefully. Reward your best customers. There's all kinds of ways to do that. Oh, I spend way too much time with PowerPoint. This is what happens at 3 o'clock in the morning on a red eye. All right. If you reward them, what they will do is grow and flourish and tell others. And it will be more meaningful, more believable, more credible if it's coming from them versus you, because they are using your product. All right? You're probably not even using your product. All kinds of companies are doing that, rewarding their customers. I love that Cisco, a B2B company, even has a super fan shout out to their best customers. It's a big ego trip for the person who gets that. You want to empower them to share, give them the resources, the tools, the Facebook button, the Twitter button. Make it super easy to share their like or passion for you. One easy way to do that, of course, is a like. But as we'll see, that doesn't go quite far enough. And by the way, the stats show that consumers who like or follow a brand, largely because of cognitive dissonance, which we don't have time to discuss, Leon Festinger's 19, never mind. The point is that they're more likely to buy and to recommend if they like you, if they take that step to like you. Sharpie did a great example of this, kind of putting it all together, of finding fans, empowering them, and then rewarding or nurturing them. They created a series of contests, okay? And many of the winners, you know, they became print ad campaigns. What an ego boost that is for the winner. And it's great advertising because it's coming from the consumers themselves. They even created, or had somebody created a video. They had a video contest. And this winner, which I don't have time to show you today, was viewed 62 million times on YouTube. What is that worth? You didn't even have to produce it yourself. Somebody else did. That's a great ROI in my book. And speaking of ROI, you know, we all know the numbers, but this is from one research source. Challenges of social media marketing according to Business Executive Worldwide. The #1 challenge, bar none, we've seen lots of other studies, is establishing an ROI strategy. Anybody in the room got this figured out? You'd be lying if you did. I've been speaking about this for years and nobody has ever raised a hand. One day, somebody will raise their hand and my game will be over. But the second one is actually kind of interesting. Monitoring employees' social media use. That's another challenge. I don't know why that's an issue, frankly, but I guess it is for some people. Only Jim gets that? There is more coffee back there, I think, right? So we haven't got this figured out, but very briefly, we apply our framework again, which is that we start with exposure metrics, but that's not where we end, because the end game is not with the likes and the followers. I love it when a marketer says, you see this in Ad Age or Ad Week, oh, we had 80,000 followers. Yeah, so what? I mean, maybe that was great. I don't know, but what, did you try business? Is the consumer more has more affinity for your brand? Are they buying more? Are they telling others about it? I don't know. We just got 50 or 80 million followers, or 80,000, whatever the number was. It's not the end game. So once again, you ignore website traffic because it could be crap. It has to be the right website traffic. So that what you want to do then is tie those exposure metrics, the followers and the likes and so on, and conduct post-visit surveys, expose versus control. Are we seeing a lift over time, not in a nanosecond of a click, in terms of brand perception? If we're seeing a brand perception lift, that's probably going to lead to some kind of financial metric, right? And to get to ROI, you're going to need visibility into buying behavior, however you want to do that. So all of these things, again, need to be linked. And Don't ignore, by the way, the market research value of social media. Again, it's like it's like focus groups on steroids. You're going to get a lot more information, and you won't have to eat all those M&Ms behind the two-way mirror. All right? Channel number 2 is video. Do I have... I know that we started 10 minutes late, but we'll wrap up fairly quickly. These next ones go quickly. Video-wise, your media, because you can engage with people emotionally. With online video, the neat thing is you can tell a story. How many brands don't have a story? You better have one. It's better to tell it video, create a laugh, as we've seen, and visualize a product benefit. Online video is really just a ton of opportunities for you in terms of product demos. Customer testimonials come to life when there are actually people there, warm bodies, as opposed to just words on a page. How-to videos that inform, educate, or train. This works particularly well in B2B, and it works particularly well in the lower parts of the funnel when you're just getting people kind of moving along the path. They're not ready to buy yet, they're just moving along the path. A good example of that is USG. I don't know this company, but they make sheetrock, and they created a whole series of training videos to help the builder and the contractors how to create or lay this stuff out. All right? It's actually very interesting if you're into sheetrock. Entertaining or fun videos, we've seen Cheech and Chong, but then there is this one. We've all heard of Will It Blend? They put in a Barbie doll, they put in an iPhone, they even put in the Old Spice jar. You know, everything is in there. Home sales of blenders up 700% since the video series began for very little dollars. You've heard of them, but you probably haven't heard of Orabrush. Has anybody heard of Orabrush? Orabrush is an interesting, they have created a business overnight through YouTube. They spent $500 on the first production, $500, and amazingly, and this is one of the characters, right? People love this stuff, and they can't wait for the next installment. Then they created all kinds of other things that we'll look at in a second, but 30 million views on YouTube. You get the stats. And the big kicker is that they finally got retail distribution, including just recently from Walmart, through $500 on a YouTube campaign and doing very clever social media marketing and data and analytics, by the way. Oh, and this is, in case you're interested, they have it. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying anything, but it's just after lunch. Digital channel number 3, we're going to just briefly touch on mobile, the anytime, anywhere channel, as we like to say. It's a really cool channel. Our marketers are interested, you bet. Global execs, this is the current trends that most impact companies or executives worldwide, right? Way up top, oh, big surprise, you're in the right room, rise of data and analytics and how to best use them. But right underneath that, use of multiple platform devices, smartphones, iPads, etc. And indeed, for the black, in the next 5 years, that's the most important thing. Let's get this right. Huge trends. Half of marketers are using mobile in their upcoming advertising campaigns. At eMarketer, we get really interested, if not a little concerned, when 2 independent market research companies come up with the exact same metric. We're not quite sure how that happened, but perhaps you can guess. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm not taking a shot at anybody. That's just a joke. How much are marketers spending on mobile ads, Jim? Well, now wait a second. Does anybody know in the US? Oh, I forgot. There's an app for that. Yeah, okay, that's a joke. There's not really an app for that, although there could be. And it shows the numbers range from about 320 million all the way up to Burrell Associates at $10 billion. You know, sometimes in the market research analytics business that we're in, when we aggregate data from other sources, we wonder how the analysts come up with some of these numbers. I thought you might get that. It's also interesting to look briefly at the specificity with which they come up with the numbers, 1.24, 1.19. It reminds me of a famous mathematician, John von Neumann, who said, there's no sense in being precise when you don't even know what you're talking about. Thank you, John. We updated our number just recently to $1.2 billion, 65% growth, growing faster than any other medium, digital or not. And the numbers speak for themselves, but it's still only 3.4% of total online ad spend. So it is a slim slip of a number right now, but it is growing rapidly, and it's going to be a big, huge opportunity. Very briefly, in terms of, we've done analysis of about 3 or 4 dozen different research companies to come to grips with how much time are people really spending with various media, including internet. And we find that TV is still the reigning champion, despite what you might have seen from other research companies who we won't discuss. But TV is at 12.24 hours. Internet is 2 hours and 35 minutes, followed by radio. Mobile has emerged to become number 4 media at 50 minutes a day, which now equals the time that people are spending on magazines and newspapers combined. It's a true fact. And what's made that happen, of course, is the emergence of smartphones, which enable you as a marketer to do almost everything that you can do with a desktop PC and more on a little mobile device that people take with them 24/7. A lot of people sleep with their cell phones. I know I do. It wakes me up in the morning. Smartphone penetration, drum roll please, 38% according to eMarketer, and the number's actually pretty convergent, so we can believe it. Why do marketers love mobile marketing? All kinds of reasons. The immediacy, the cost effectiveness, and the increased engagement. There's that word again. But they're also should be looking more at the complementary to other media, because the mobile device is not your silver bullet for marketing. It's just part of the puzzle. And it is a wonderful, additive, integrated kind of channel that allows you to measure. We'll take a quick look at that. Pepsi ran a campaign, TV campaign on Major League Baseball, and then ran a promotion for Pepsi Max where you could take your cell phone out, which of course you have when you're watching your TV, type in that code, take it into the store, and redeem the coupon, and they can measure it right down to the T. That is a really good use of mobile. It's not the star, because that was on TV, but it was the device that connected essentially the digital and the analog worlds. Very important concept. So mobile can add 2 exciting dimensions to your marketing efforts. We're talking about different dimensions here. I don't want to get too geeky on you here, but it's basically this. The capturing of space or location coupled with a particular time, as in right now. You couple those 2 things together, dissect them, and what you come up with is intent. If I'm at this place at this time, I'm probably interested in what? Okay? While in stores, consumers are using their phones increasingly to compare prices, to evaluate products and services, and check in with trusted friends via social media. And this creates great opportunities to reach those consumers just when they're at the point of making a decision. That's why mobile is so cool, and we need to start paying attention to it. Think of the real-time integration opportunities for combining that geolocation technology with email and social media, all integrating that stuff. Finally, think before you app. There's too many apps out there. There's 400,000. At a big company yesterday, they were talking about how they created 60 apps this year. And I'm like, yeah, but are any of them good? Do people use them? You know, Dunkin' Donuts did a great one where, you know, people do coffee runs for the office. You can do it all on your mobile phone. You know, send the order in. You go and you pick it up by just showing your mobile phone, and you walk out a lot faster. It's efficient for the customer. That's utility for the customer. And if coffee's not your beverage, there's a great one from Stella Artois, the beer company, that created this kind of augmented reality. I don't want just any bar. I want one that sells my favorite brand of beer. Way cool. The key here to remember is that in this world that we're operating in, we're not just competing with our obvious direct competitors. We're competing with thousands and thousands of app developers who don't have a brand to sling. They just have a single-minded focus on creating a great app that's going to be useful for people. That's what you're competing with. So forget the brand story. I mean, obviously you want to weave your brand into it, but you're competing with people like my 16-year-old who are busy creating these apps themselves, and they, again, do not have the pressure of trying to sell something else. You do. So you better make it good, because you're competing with that. We don't have time to go into the measurement of mobile. Let's just say it's a mess. Nobody's figured it out. All the numbers suggest that we have a long way to go before we integrate all this stuff. Only 1/3 of marketers are integrating mobile with cross-platform media. We have to, again, go back to our measurement framework. It's all in the book, but you get the idea. You have to start correlating these things and establish those linkages. At this time, Jim is now thinking something very serious, which is, are you realizing you're out of time? And I'm quite aware of that, Jim, so I'm just going to close with a very brief personal story. This is me at the age of 15. I was a professional magician. I substituted PowerPoint for magic tricks. I'm not sure if I made the right choice or not, but you be the judge. And basically what I decided to do is that I have a B2B bias. I was tired of doing shows where I was paid by the consumer. You know, Little Bobby's birthday party or the Lions Club or whatever, where I get paid by individuals. I wanted to get paid by a business. And so my idea that I concocted was that I would work in swanky restaurants. I would do the magic for the consumer, the patrons at the table, and the proprietor at the end of the evening, if he was happy, he would pay me my 35 bucks for the 2 hours. This is back in the 1970s, folks, so that was a lot of money back then. And I needed two things to make that work. I first needed magnetic content. In this case, I better be really good at what I do. So I practiced and practiced my magic tricks, and I bored the crap out of my brother and sister. They couldn't stand to see me do another trick. So then I had to go to the mirror, and I was practicing in front of the mirror. Endless hours of doing that to perfect, to get that kind of creative excellence, magnetic content that was going to be good. And I thought I had that down, and then I said, there's one other thing I need. This is before I got into market research, but I decided, how am I going to, I'm a 15-year-old pimply-faced kid, how am I going to convince this 40-year-old restaurant manager that I can do this stuff and it's going to actually drive his business? Am I going to get to quote-unquote performance measurement? I wasn't using that language back then, by the way. And so I created the only research tool I could with the technology at the time, which was mimeograph paper. 3 questions on the sheet, I cut them out. Question number 1, did you enjoy having the magician at your table? Did you have a positive brand experience? Translated for the proprietor. Question number 2 was, would this magic experience encourage you to come back to this restaurant? AKA repeat purchase. And question number 3, which is amazingly prescient for me, because I'm really not a visionary, I'm just looking at a lot of data. I actually came up with the first viral concept, which was, question number 3 was, would this encourage you to come back to this restaurant? What happened was that people not only checked the affirmative for each one of those 3 things, they turned the sheet over and wrote volumes about how their evening was transformed by having the magician at their table. And they couldn't wait to invite Aunt Sally and all her nephews to this restaurant to see the magician. All I had to do at the end of the evening is hold these bucket loads of little mimeograph sheets of survey paper to the proprietor, and he said, here's your 35 bucks, kid, come back next week. It worked for me, it can work for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And you can get a hold of me